The Black Rock Desert of Nevada is a landscape of stark, brutal beauty. It's a place where the sun beats down with a merciless ferocity and where the horizon shimmers with heat and illusion. It is also a place known for its strange phenomena and whispered legends of unexplainable occurrences. On the last day of July in 1948, this desolate expanse became the stage for a baffling disappearance that would confound police and fuel local folklore for decades. Sergeant Henry J.S. O'Neill was an officer with the Nevada Highway Patrol. He was a professional, a man who knew the high desert like the back of his hand. That day, he was on patrol, driving his highway patrol car through the sweltering heat when he decided to pull over to change a flat tire. He radioed his dispatcher to report his location, just a few miles east of the small town of Gerlach. He gave the details, signed off, and began his work. But then the radio went silent. A few hours later, a fellow officer drove by the same spot and found Sergeant O'Neill's patrol car. It was still there, parked on the shoulder. The flat tire was still on the car, the lug nuts were loose, and the spare tire was laid out on the ground beside it. It looked as if O'Neill had simply stopped in the middle of a task and walked away. There was no sign of a struggle, no blood, no footprints leading anywhere. It was as if he had simply vanished into the desert air. The search that followed was massive. Hundreds of law enforcement officers, search and rescue teams, and volunteers scoured the vast open landscape. They searched for days, then weeks. They found nothing. The professional who knew the desert so well was swallowed by it without a trace. With no physical evidence to explain the disappearance, the case quickly took on a life of its own. Local people, already steeped in stories of the Black Rock's peculiarities, began to whisper. Some claimed O'Neill had been taken by the desert itself, a place of ancient, vengeful spirits. Others spoke of shadow men, entities said to lure travelers away from the beaten path. His car, sitting untouched on the side of the road, became a macabre monument to a paranormal event. Then, 5 years later, the seemingly impossible happened. In the spring of 1953, the Black Rock Desert received an unusual amount of rainfall, and the arid landscape began to change. As the sun-baked ground softened, a rancher on a horse, miles from where O'Neill's car was found, saw something strange sticking out of the mud. He dismounted to investigate. It was a human skull. Police were called to the scene. As they carefully excavated the area, a grim discovery was made. Buried in the muddy earth was the skeletal remains of Sergeant Henry J.S. O'Neill. But the body told a far more complex story than anyone had imagined. He wasn't simply a man who had gotten lost. O'Neill's body was found with the belt still buckled around his waist, his gun still in its holster, and his wallet still in his pocket. It was exactly as he would have been dressed on patrol. More disturbingly, there were no signs of injury or foul play. The medical examiner concluded that he had likely died of dehydration and exposure. But the final unnerving detail was the location. O'Neill's remains were found a full 35 miles from his patrol car, a staggering distance for a man to walk, let alone a man who had simply stepped away to change a tire. What could have compelled a man to walk over 30 miles into one of the most hostile environments on Earth, in a straight line with no water and no reason? The police report offered a mundane but terrifying conclusion. Sergeant O'Neill had likely suffered a heat-stroke-induced delusion, a form of temporary insanity known to happen to people lost in the desert. In the hallucination, he might have believed he was heading toward safety or pursuing a phantom car. He had simply walked to his death, propelled by a mind that had broken under the intense pressure of the desert heat. But for the locals, the police report was just a theory. The mystery of the lost highway patrolman remains part of the Black Rock's lore. They say a man with a clear head and a fully stocked car doesn't just walk 35 miles to his death. They say the desert itself, with its endless expanse and strange whispering winds, had reached out and taken one of its own. To this day, The case of Sergeant O'Neill remains a cautionary tale, not just about the dangers of the desert, but about the line between what can be explained and what simply disappears.